Another game, guys, with the low total on the same day. The Saturday games totals, 42.5, like we said, Chargers-Texans, 43.5 for the Steelers at Baltimore, where Baltimore now is a 9.5-point favorite. Lawrence, you got the Ravens jersey on today. Derrick Henry, of course, at the top of the board on DFS at $8,200. No surprise in terms of the volume and the level of play the King still has.
Yeah, even with this low over/under, I would go, if I'm going to go heavy, especially if I'm going heavy running back in this game, I would look towards Rashad Bateman, especially with Zay Flowers not expected to play. They say he's a long shot to play. When Zay Flowers went out there last game, Bateman ended up catching 5-8 targets, 76 yards, getting a touchdown. So he automatically turns into their wide receiver one. He was already kind of their big play receiver with Zay Flowers in the game. Wasn't a lot of volume, but he could always get that big play. So now more so, he should get more opportunities.
More of a narrow target tree, obviously, with Zay Flowers on the shelf. So I also think Mark Andrews, who scored in 6 straight games, he's got 11 touchdowns in his past 12. He suddenly becomes pretty interesting. I do think the middle of the field, again, is a good place to attack Pittsburgh.
Yep. I have to say, I'm stunned that this line is like pushing towards 10. Like Steelers plus 10, really? Like this line was, I think it was 6.5 when they played a few weeks ago. I understand that the Steelers have not played well since then. The offense looks broken, but this is still like Mike Tomlin. It's still T.J. Watt, Cameron Hayward. I think that the Steelers have a chance to wreck the game with their defensive line. And AFC North rivalry game. I would take you don't feel good about it. It's yucky, but I'd be taking the Steelers, particularly against
that. Tomlin has been bad against the spread as an underdog in the playoffs. He's usually really good, and when Tomlin's an underdog in the regular season, he's great against the spread, but it hasn't been as strong in the playoffs.
When they played the Steelers that game on Christmas or right before Christmas, I took the Ravens minus 13.5 and felt extremely confident about that. I'm not taking that number this time, but I do like them to cover. And it's because I think they're going to run the ball. You spoke about them being able to wreck the game, which they can. That's if this game gets into like some kind of passing game script on both sides, which I don't really see that happen. I think it's going to be Derrick Henry running, Lamar running.
I think that's what scares you in this one, is that the Steelers are going to be put into a pass funnel. And does anybody want to hear that? Like, does anyone want to see Russell Wilson right now in a pass funnel, what we saw from George Pickens at the end of the year? Freiermuth's been fine. Yeah. I mean, he's relevant fantasy-wise in this one, but I
probably
think that's
the best value
listen,
on their offense.
Pat Freiermuth is $4,400 on DraftKings if you're playing DFS this weekend. He's had 11 or more fantasy points 5 of the past 6 games. Again, we know the secondary of the Ravens is an area to attack. I'm with you, though. Like, you don't want them to be in a You definitely don't want Russell Wilson in a shootout against Lamar Jackson, right? And it's very quietly, the Steelers, over the last final 4 weeks of the season, they were 28th against the pass. I mean, they just, again, they got lit up on Christmas Day against the Chiefs, right? They got lit up by the Steelers. They've sort of limped into the playoffs here.
Yeah, and we were lit up as a show for criticizing Russell Wilson after he was running hot after his first few weeks, where every single deep pass was being completed because it was bouncing off the hands of Jets cornerbacks into Pat Freiermuth. Yeah. Well, Russ doesn't look so great right now. I think that the thing with Russ, though, is at least that as an underdog, he does give you variance because he does throw the ball deep. And Pickens is a player who does just create variance just by his nature. Yeah. Where he could be, like, would you be stunned if George Pickens went for 110 yards? Would you be stunned if he had 0 yards? Like, anything can happen with this guy. And so as an underdog, and also just the defensive line of the Steelers also creates a little bit of variance with just their ability to define the game. But yeah, like, the Ravens are probably going to win. They're probably going to win comfortably. It's just that if the line gets to 10, which it's inching towards, it's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points for two teams that do not like each other, that for years and years and years, even if one team was running bad, they always play each other tough. They truly hate each other. Third time they're seeing each other this season as well. It's going to be cold in Baltimore. The line's 43.5, so you're saying, like, hey, if it's a low-scoring game here, and you've got, like, you feel like the Steelers are able to somewhat keep it close. This feels like a grinded-out, ugly AFC North type game.
Yeah, and also, like, the Steelers against the Bengals, it felt like the Steelers were atrocious in that game. The offense could do nothing. Like, they lost the game by 2 points. Like, the defense is still very solid. So, yeah, I think this might be a bit closer than people expect.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched. Or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.